For Thomas Jefferson, the new republic must be founded with religious freedom, and that, he believed, was a God-given right.
One thing he says is, God created us in such a way that we can make our religious choices. Who is the state to tell us something that God chose not to tell us?
This one is obvious to him. This one is very obvious to him. Suddenly, in his backyard is an example of the worst kind of abuse that government can do.
We tend to think of Jefferson as a sort of anti-religious person, but he was intensely religious, or as we might say now, he was spiritual but not religious. But he thought that it was up to the individuals. And he didn't want the state to tell him what to think. We think of Jefferson as a rationalist, but in some way this is also an outgrowth of the Protestant Reformation, where the Protestants are saying every individual is free to read the Bible for himself and figure out what it says. Jefferson wanted us to do that too. He wanted us to be free to look at the evidence in the world of religion and decide what we thought it all meant.
Jefferson's own religion had nothing in common with Baptist beliefs. He created his own version of the Gospels, keeping only what he believed relevant, cutting out the rest.
And he takes away all the narrative, all the miracles, all of that stuff that just won't stand rational inspection. No, Jesus didn't raise Lazarus because there is no exemption to death. But Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the peacemakers." This is divine wisdom. And no institution can mediate it for you, including a church, let alone a government.
Jefferson met with Virginia's leading Baptists, who told him of their struggle to practice their faith.
Jefferson said, "I couldn't disagree with you more about the substance of all of this, but I will defend your right to say it." And that's exactly what he does.
Jefferson joined forces with the Baptists.
And their idea, which is radical at the time, is you disestablish the church. You allow every religious sect and denomination to compete in the marketplace of ideas.
Jefferson began to draft a bill that would end state-supported religion.
No man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship, place, or ministry whatsoever.
Jefferson went further. Individuals must be free to worship as they choose.
All men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinions in matters of religion.
It's through this competition of religious sects and denominations that the purest and the most efficacious faith and church will prevail in Virginia.
Baptist support for Jefferson's vision of a religiously free Virginia grew more vocal. Their message struck a chord with ordinary Virginians who had fought for America's independence. In January 1786, Jefferson's bill was finally passed.
That connection was so palpable between the tyranny of a government that didn't allow you to do your own thing and the tyranny of religious groups that wouldn't allow you to do your own thing, that we decided that, yes, it was worth the risk, that we need to try.
And when a year later, the Constitution was being drafted in Philadelphia, Jefferson and the Baptists hoped that their hard-fought principle of separating church from state would be part of the country's founding document. On September 25, 1789, at Federal Hall in New York, America's first Congress proposed a Bill of Rights. The First Amendment was ratified and became part of the Constitution in 1791.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
Years later, as president, Thomas Jefferson would define the First Amendment as having erected a wall of separation between church and state.
The metaphor is so strong that people often think that, oh, the First Amendment means that there should be a wall of separation of church and state. It doesn't mean that at all. You know, it says that we are not going to establish laws that are going to favor one religion or over another. But it doesn't say exactly what kind of barrier there's going to be.
A new nation, the First Amendment would be a work in progress. But with no national church, religion would not be guaranteed a place at the center of public life. No other nation had ever taken such a step.